Hi, welcome to a live edition of the Wellbeing Show. I'm your host, Noel, and I've got a fantastic guest on tonight, T. I'm going to chat about him and his life soon. And just want to apologise for the last couple of weeks. We've had some technical hitches, which meant that we haven't had a live show and you've had to watch a repeat. We hope not to repeat that again. Anyway, welcome back to Live and Direct here. We're on various platforms at the moment, YouTube, Facebook Live and Periscope. You can give us a call as well if you want to join in the conversation. My team will be scanning the airwaves and looking out for comments and seeing we can drop them in. You can give me a call, +44 7506 319 745. That's enough of my ugly mug. On to the important person here, which is T Green. Hello, T. Welcome.
Welcome. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. I'm all right. I've had a bit of a up and down week. Had to sort of move my travel plans due to sickness earlier on. So I sort of feel like I've landed back home now, but I'm good. How about you? How's your week been?
Well, it is what it is, isn't it? I mean, 1 minute you make a plan and it gets changed 10 minutes later because of someone has either fallen ill or someone else I was with has fallen ill.
Yeah.
So you just have to roll with it, really. I mean, there's no point getting too stressed about it because, you just have to, whatever you was doing last year, we're going to do this year or next year. It's going to happen one way or the other, just a bit later.
Yes.
So yeah.
Have you found the pandemic and all of that stuff? That's been the big event of our lives the last 18 months, 20 months now.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, 2020, I lost about 91 shows personally.
Yeah.
I got 60 back this year, and then they removed 32 and put them onto next year. So because things keep changing every 5 minutes. I mean, give an example. I got asked to do a private function on the 19th of December for a Christmas party.
Yeah.
And they said, "Can you sing a Christmas carol?" And I went, "Yeah, of course." So I went and recorded my version of a Christmas carol, just as a backing track, so I could go and perform it live at this event. And then that was on the 19th of December. We got Tier Forward on 2 days before. So I thought, well, I'm not going to wait another year to sing that song. I've just paid all this money out for this track. I'm going to go and record it. So I went in the studio, put a quick vocal down. And then we're on lockdown, aren't we now? So I'm sneaking around West London with a friend of mine with with an iPad filming me with a torch. You can make it up. Oh no, don't. So we got the video. No, it's a great video though, And we've done that the night before Christmas Eve.
Just in case the police are listening, it's not real. It didn't really happen. It's just a story he's made up. It's a hypothetical situation.
It's pure faction.
Brilliant.
So, but we was editing. Well, not me, but the young lady that filmed it. Her name's Juanita. She was editing till 7 a.m. Right. Bless her. And then we put it up live on all the platforms. About midday Christmas Eve, and all the money that it made we gave to a homeless charity, which is great, great fun. So at least I got to sing that song and didn't have to wait for a year for it.
Good for you. Very we've all had to be like that, haven't we? Sort of try and adapt to what's going on.
Yeah, we've got to make it up as we go along.
But the events
not everyone else's.
Yeah, I know, but the events world really has taken a knock. I mean, sort of live events have been on its knees, I think, really.
I've never known anything to be so confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've decided now the best way for me to get an audience is to kick a football round on stage. Then they'll all be allowed in.
Yes, I think there's a lot of truth in that.
Hopefully 60,000 of them. Yeah,
that's right. I was going to say, as long as you've got at least 40,000 to sort of dump their crap all over London, then you'll be all right.
Correct. Yeah.
It is interesting, isn't it? And then surf. Apparently, surf meets are fine. Surfing meets, but I guess they're outside surfing meets, but there you go. But we've got the live gigs opening up again soon, haven't we? And then, already opened up now, but we've got the new restrictions coming in September, which is 1 week's time, about having to be double vaccinated to get into gigs and venues.
Yeah, I'm not sure they can do that to everybody. Right. I think surely that's got to be a law that's got to be passed in Parliament and then agreed to. I think there's going to be a bit of confusion there.
Yeah,
and probably a few arguments as well.
More than a few arguments.
And I don't think some of the venues, or most of the venues, won't be able to afford it.
Yeah,
to have half the capacity. I mean, I think, to be honest, my opinion, what do I know? I'm not a scientist, but as long as everybody turns up with a fresh negative test, then we should all be good to go, really. I mean, and I did hear there was Eric Clapton was saying that he didn't really want to perform to an only jabbed audience. He wanted it to be a mixed audience or something like that. I think I'm correct in repeating that. I might have got that wrong, but I'm sure that's what he was coming at. Yeah, something like that.
He's a little bit out there. The Earth is a bit flat around Eric most days.
Yeah.
It's an interesting debate. I mean, I just got back from seeing my boy in France, and they have this thing called the pass sanitaire. Okay. Which is you have to either have evidence of a recent test or your vaccination status has to be double jabbed to be able to do things like restaurants, cinemas, everything, even the trains and the buses. And they're quite hard to trot on testing it as well. I mean, you can imagine in France, it's actually causing riots, but so we shall see. I mean, we're going to have our own version of it, so we shall see how it goes. But it's a lot to ask sort of venue managers.
It's such a responsibility.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, if you've had your test and you upload it like a good boy or a good girl to the NHS, you get your little app on your phone.
Yeah.
Then you've all got evidence. Surely all the theatres will be covered by that.
Yeah.
There's no one can be made responsible for that. And then there's also people not doing the test properly, not where they stick it,
Yeah.
I mean, there might be a few false positives or negatives. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. Without doubt. I mean, it's sort of, in France, what they were doing, that all the venues have the corresponding reader. So it's a QR code. Your camera can read it on your phone. And so that's what they were doing. And then they were linking to the French government website. But it's interesting times. It's going to be here for a few more years, I think.
Yeah.
But you sound like you're able to ride it out pretty well.
I've just stopped worrying about what I can't control.
Yeah.
It's the only way that I can cope with it, to be honest, because, I'm not going to think about the money I've lost, because the thing is, all the work I was doing last year, I should have had that money in my bank by now. So this year, I won't be earning new money. I'll be earning my old money.
Yeah.
And the year after. So I'm 2 years behind, a lot of catching up to do. So I don't know. I'm still here. I'm breathing and I'm grateful for that. And all my loved ones are hopefully been shined on by good fortune with their health.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the most important thing, isn't it? That our nearest and dearest remain safe and with us.
Yeah.
One thing that's happened to me during the pandemic is it's really made me think about my priorities,
Yeah.
So I was Mr. Busy Bee before, and we all had to sort of slow down.
Yeah.
But I had to think about what was important to me. And not surprisingly, I suppose, the people that I love came out on top.
Yeah, good.
And that's what I went for and engaged with. I had that strange thing as well. I got to know my neighbours for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Bloody unheard of in London. Now
in London. Yeah.
Now on first name terms with people that I've lived next door to for 20 years and didn't know who they were.
Are you going to leave your front door open now?
No.
For them? Or are you going to leave your key on a piece of elastic through the letterbox?
No, but I have given copies of my key to my neighbours sort of sorting things out, which is,
Okay.
I mean, it's been quite interesting, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is for a dyed-in-the-wool Londoner like me, who's very suspicious if people start smiling at me. I'm like, what do you want? Sort of now, I'm on chatting terms with my neighbours. Where are you based, anyway?
I live in a lovely place called Thorpe Bay, which is about 1.5 miles further on than Southend.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's a lovely part of the world right now. I know it.
Basically, right at the very end of the Thames, where it joins the sea. If you like.
Yeah. I've done that. I've done the cycle route around the Thames, down the Thames to the sea often, so I know that area quite well.
Yeah.
It's beautiful down there.
Oh yeah,
fantastic.
Well, I'm literally 100 meters from the beach and 200 meters from a golf course.
Great. And is that where that area is that where you were born and bred and grew up?
No, I was born in Shoreham by Sea.
Right.
And then I moved to North London, Palmer's Green, Wood Green, around there. And then we moved to Harlow. Then my poor dad had a motorbike accident.
Oh dear.
Very badly in about 1963, just a week before my brother was born.
Right.
And obviously, in them days, there was no assistance. So we went to my nan's for quite a time. I think my brother was born in my nan's house. And then because, like I said, there was no assistance in them days, he didn't get any dole money. I think he was forced to sign himself off of the sick to go to work, you know. I can remember them sitting in the house with coats on because it was cold.
Yeah.
But we never went without food or, you know, anything. So thank God.
Yeah.
You know, for that.
And your brother?
Sorry?
It was you and your brother growing up together?
Yeah, me and my brother, yeah.
Great. Is he still with us in the world?
He is. I've tried to take him out of it a couple of times because he annoyed me.
That's what brothers are for, mate.
Listen, I plugged him into the mains, tried to suffocate him as a kid, but it didn't quite work.
Yeah. I've tried to drown my brother on many occasions.
I just got sent to my room. No.
That's good for you. Is he in the music business as well, or did he go a different direction?
No, he's in a different direction. Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
so how did you? I mean, you've been in the music business for quite a while, but how did you get involved in it? I mean, it's sort of a Shoreham by Sea boy to international megastar. What's that story?
Well, the truth is, as a school starter, I was one of these kids that I had National Health glasses on with a patch over one eye, and I used to stutter.
That was my brother.
Yeah, don't.
I
swear to God, listen.
He hated it.
Yeah, but I probably got kicked from one end of the playground from the day I started school to almost the day I left.
Yeah.
And that's because I stuttered and everything else. But my only get out of jail card was this. You had two choices at school, which was either playing football or going in the music room. Well, I did try to play football, but the only time I received the ball was in the nuts or on the back of the head.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'm not going to do that no more. So I went in the music room, and then the guy, I think his name was Mr. Cutler. My memory serves me right. He picked me out to sing a few songs, and I suddenly realised that when I was singing, I didn't stutter anymore.
Yes, amazing, isn't it?
It kind of let me out of prison. Suddenly I'm like, whoa, hang on. So all the people that thought it was funny that I stuttered suddenly wanted to be my friend because I could sing. I was their friend all of a sudden. So the last couple of years of school was actually not too bad, but the first, God knows how many years, was horrendous. So then I sort of joined the school band, joined the school choirs and stuff like that. You know, got headhunted for a few different bands. You know, and
it's interesting. I'm sort of identifying with the story because I got involved in the arts at school.
No, that's all right. Yeah.
And again, I had a stutter and things like that. And I do think it was the profile it gave me meant I was untouchable in school. Like nobody would mess with me because I was known by all the teachers. I did all school plays. I did the choir and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it gave me a free pass really on a lot of things, which I'm really grateful for, actually.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it was a godsend. Suddenly realising, hey, if there was a fire, I'd have to sing it to you because you burnt to death by the time I said it. So, you know, yeah.
It's a bit like, what's that film,
Thank
The
God for
King's
singing.
Speech? Have you seen that film, The King's Speech?
Yes.
So it's a bit like that.
Oh, I felt for him. Well, that's the thing, you see. You couldn't do it these days, but my form teacher, who I didn't like, I must admit, he used to make me stand at the front of the class and read a paragraph out of a book. And they'd all sit there folded up laughing. Oh, I don't.
Oh, really? What?
Oh, my, yeah. I tell you what. I've got this phobia now of reading out loud. I don't mind speaking, but reading something, I start getting a bit uncomfortable, a bit sweaty, you know, because I've got that memory going on of everyone laughing at me because, or just waiting for me to stutter, you know. And it was like, it was probably the longest 1 minute of my life.
Yeah, it's really shit behaviour on the part.
Oh,
did you see there was a lovely little thing on telly? This was a few years back about young kid at school who had a very serious stutter, and a little Asian boy, and in a sort of London school these days. I mean, it was only a few years ago, and one of his teachers watched the King's Speech. Yeah. And then came into school the next day and saw the boy and said, I saw this film, let's try this out. And they followed his progress because I think they were filming the school anyway for some reason. Yeah. But he got him to sort of do these exercises around singing a passage from a book rather than reading it. And he did a school assembly where he managed to get it all out, and the whole school gave him a standing ovation.
Fantastic.
It was extraordinary. I'll see if I can find it. I might tag it on as part of when we send this out through the social media channels. It's beautiful. It maybe suggests that teachers have come on a little bit since our day. Oh,
listen, nowadays, I mean, I used to get slipper and the blackboard rubber hit me in the head. And yeah. You know, you couldn't do that to little Johnny now, could you?
No. I had a teacher with the slipper. What he'd do, he'd write the word hot back to front in red on the slipper and give it to you. So you had hot printed on your ass for the rest of the day, and everybody knew you'd been given the slipper.
Yeah.
Mr. White. I remember him. He was quite a nice bloke, apart from things like that. So yeah, those are the days. Bloody hell.
Well, you know, listen, I turned out all right, so I guess you know,
I didn't turn out. I'm not blaming other people for it.
I've never stolen an old lady's handbag, and I've never stolen sort of anything else. So I guess it must have worked.
No. So that, I mean, it's an interesting route into the music business then. So that was like basically your lifeline. That's what got you out of the shit. So, which was fantastic. I had the same experience with football. It wasn't so much the game, it was the people who played it.
All right.
Just not for me. I didn't like them, they didn't like me. We didn't get on.
I don't. I must admit, if I go into a pub and there's all this sort of a football talk, I kind of creep off into a corner.
Yeah.
And mind my own business, because I couldn't tell you who plays for who anyway. I'm not particularly interested either.
Yeah, same here. It was the culture around it I didn't like. But those were, again, that was way back when dinosaurs were walking the earth, so was I. And in those days, you had a lot of violence in football matches and stuff like that. It was part of the game, wasn't
it? Yeah.
Very much. And I mean, me and my brother actually worked at Birmingham City Ground selling the pies and Bovril.
Lovely. You should have spat in their Bovril then.
It was nicking the money. It was a bit more profitable, you know. So there you go. Well, it's an inspiring story, actually, T, because it is my experience that the arts can act like this for a lot of people. Actually, I've done a lot of work on the arts in the East End, community arts projects, working with young people, you know, I'd say kids, but they'd probably beat me up if I called them kids, but young people who are in difficult places, but we put on arts projects for them and they shine.
Yes, they do.
Absolutely shine.
If you allow them to blossom,
Yeah,
you'll be surprised what the harvest is. You know,
it's extraordinary, isn't it?
There's too many people that want to close you down.
Yeah,
you know, because they're not able to grow themselves. So the only way they can make themselves look bigger is to change the perspective, to change your perspective, make you smaller.
Yeah,
to make them appear bigger. I've seen it so many times.
Yeah, I know.
It's like history repeating itself, and I'm like, no.
I mean, the one of the things I like about the arts, I don't know about you, but one of the things I like about it is that the entry is by choice. You then have to learn the skills and improve your ability and all that sort of stuff. But
No.
if you've got it in your heart, that's where you start, right? And,
Of course,
and the passion, the commitment, that will see you through. And if you've got the talent, you've got the talent. That's the way it is. So, but even with that, you've got to have your feelings invested in your art form, and really believe in it. So, you got out of all the bins by singing, which is fantastic, and that I think is a great story. And also, you helped deal with your ability to communicate with people improved because you could sing. Your confidence improved and your diction improved. And then you left school and was straight into the music business, or?
No, what happened was my dad is a hand bookbinder, old-fashioned leather book, amazing craftsman.
That's extraordinary.
Oh no, amazing, and he used to buy in books for like the Queen and
of course,
Aspers of London, Harrow, all this like leather-bound books with all the gold, they're all by hand, you know. So I kind of went into that business at first. And with all the best intentions, but to be honest, I'll keep looking at the clock. 5 o'clock, I was out the door, going to rehearsals and you know, trying to do my singing. And one day I said, Dad, I don't really want to be here. And I knew it was going to upset him. It made me feel so bad. But you know, I mean, I was quite lucky. At the age of 15, I had a hairy chest. So I used to open my shirt and walk into the local pub where there was a band, and they let me in because they thought I was 18, you know, which was a result. So I used to. I used to learn from all them. They used to go from bar to bar to bar and watch different bands, you know, and used to pick up little tips because there was no YouTube or anything like that. So we used to, you know, learn from other people, and I learned from really good guys. I mean, I think the band I used to watch in a pub called the Green Man in where was it? The Green Man, Leytonstone. There's a band called Deep Feeling, and they was all in their 30s, late 30s, and I was like 15, 16. I used to jump up and sing with them, and then when the guy went on holiday, the main singer, they used to ask me to sort of do the week with them. So it was great for me, and I learned so much that way. You know. And then when I left my dad's company, well, the reason I left was, I forgot to tell you this, is a friend of mine worked for the BBC.
Right.
And he said, if you join the BBC, you can join the BBC club, and then you can join the recording club, and you get to use all the recording studios for free. Because in them days, studios were a fortune. And I mean, like, you know, a month's wages.
No computers. It was all
no.
I mean, huge desks and ranks of machines that did odd things.
So I joined the BBC, but because I came from the outside in, I had a crap job, you know. Whereas if you was in there already, you'd get a good job, an internal job. So my first job at the BBC, I had to work in a kitchen for 9 months. I washed up for 9 months so that I could use the studio of the weekends. That was great. So I kind of paid my dues there, really. But that was a good thing. And then I then ended up printing all the scripts.
Right.
And quite strange, actually, because I was probably, do you remember Markov, who got stabbed with the umbrella?
Yeah.
I was probably one of the last people to see him alive, because I gave him this script. I gave him this script, said, see you later, mate. 15 minutes later, he got jabbed. Not a double jab, just one.
And not a vaccine.
Well, who knows? Let's hope it's not the same stuff we're getting.
No. It's a little metal ball with arsenic or whatever it was.
I was the last person to see him,
Weird. How strange. Oh. And so you're at the BBC and you're working your way up the greasy pole, just so that you can sort of use. And what was the next step for you?
Well, then obviously I left that, and then I went sort of a professional, basically. Just joined a few bands here and there, went around the circuit, learning my craft and stuff like that. And then, well, the 80s was probably the most diabolical decade for me in the world, luck-wise. In fact, we used to laugh saying if it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have had any luck at all.
Really?
Yeah, it's horrendous. I mean, what was it? Just a quick. There was, I think 1982 was it? I can't remember now the proper dates, but we got signed up by a record label to do an album, and we started it, and then we got dropped because we had the Falklands War.
Yes.
You know, one of the guys had some experience in the army, and they just dropped us. And then in 1984, I wrote and sung, I co-wrote and sung a theme tune for the BBC called Hotline, featuring Chris Tarrant and Mary Parkinson.
Mm-hmm.
I was meant to appear in the 8th episode, and they axed it on the 6th show.
That's really shit.
Okay. Yeah, and then I think 1986, my kid's mum nearly got murdered. You know, by some people. So that was really bad. And my kids are like, little, where's mummy? You know, she was in hospital for like 7 weeks. And then 1987, I won Best Band of the Year, representing Capital Radio. We beat 2,000 entrants. And we was meant to appear on every front page of every tabloid. And that night we had the King's Cross disaster.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I'm like, really? You know.
Yeah.
So bless them. We went on about 4 days later, a little snippet, you know.
Yeah.
1988, I answered an audition for Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like 10,000 singers, and the advert said millionaire in 6 months. I thought, well, that'll do. And out of 10,000 singers, I got the job. And it was all going really well. And then something happened with Holly. He couldn't get in or out one of the 2 contracts, and he came back and I had to leave. So then I went to Los Angeles, met up with the people, a guy called Benjamin Bell, and a guy called Joe Pett. He was from a band called The Undisputed Truth, and he was brought up with Stevie Wonder, you know, little Stevie and little Joe apparently.
Yeah.
And I got taken here, there, and everywhere, and big cars, limousines and stuff. And I came back to do some paperwork and see my family, and then he had a heart attack, the manager, and went off into the Arizona desert somewhere. And I thought, you know what, I've had enough now. So I just stopped trying to be a superstar, you know, gave up, and I became a session singer. So, you know, at first I had to do a few freebies so people could hear exactly what I could do, and then after a while started getting paid, you know. And
for people that don't know, what is a session singer?
A session singer is all the people you hear in the background, whether it's a guitar player or you get a session drummer or a session bass player. They're just the guys you hire to back the main artist. So I'm like a hired gun. I get asked to come in and do some background vocals for whichever artist they was recording. Yeah. You know, and so I would do that, and quite often I'd end up coaching a singer while I was there. Oh, that's nice. How do you do that? You know, so I would sort of say, oh, blah blah. And so by default, I became a vocal coach as well. It's something I wasn't planning on doing. Basically, I'm just a singer and songwriter at first, and then obviously it branches off. Started coaching people and just basically showing them what I do. Yeah. And you know, I'd had a sore throat and I knew how to get rid of it, so I kind of studied all the bits and pieces to do with that, because I'd had long conversations with aromatherapists, reflexologists, osteopaths, dentists, to do with jaw alignment and everything. So I was really interested in the way it all worked, you know. So, yeah. And I've been in a few situations now where I've been on tour and someone's lost their voice and we've got a few hours before curtain call, you know, and I've had to fix them quick so they could do the gig and stuff like that. Yeah, just it's one thing after another. And then somebody might come to my house for a lesson and they'd hear one of my songs in the background, which I accidentally on purpose played. And they'd say, oh, that's nice. What's that? So that's mine. You know, do you want to have a listen? Yeah, I'd love to do that. I said, well, you can, if you want to use it, use it. So then suddenly they're doing my songs, you know, and then I've become the songwriter too. And then say, well, if you've written it, you might as well produce it.
Yeah.
So then you end up being a producer. So all these little steps have all started from one situation or another. Nothing I intended to do. I didn't wake up thinking I'm going to be a producer, because I respected the guys that were already producers, and I didn't at that point think I could do what they did. But you kind of learn from all these guys, you know.
Yeah. And what does a producer do? I know. And what does a producer do? I know, but just for people who are listening.
Well, a producer is somebody that has a vision of how a song should sound and how the artist should sound, and you know, so he would invest. You know, if you take people like, I don't know, what's his name? The brain's gone now. Who's the guy that produced Frankie Goes to Hollywood? Trevor Horn.
Yeah.
You know, he put that song together. I think that song cost like £100,000 to make. And you hear stories about him getting in a taxi and going to a junkyard and smashing a pane of glass with a hammer and recording that and then putting it in the background and making all these lovely new sounds up. You know, that's production, you know. But at the end of the day, you're the one, if you're the producer, you're the one that's responsible for how it ends up sounding. You take an idea and then you take it to the next level, I guess, and make it sound like it does.
And producers make or break sort of music, I think, in many ways.
Much
more so than, say, a film producer. A film is a much more complex animal in one sense, but a sound producer is worth their weight in gold, a good one.
Oh, yeah. No, of course. And I guess it's what they don't do that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're not sure what you're doing, you could overdo it. You could just do stuff for the sake of it. It doesn't even need to be there, you know. So.
Yeah. Wow. And you've sort of had a really successful career, and you continue to have a successful career doing that when the world isn't in lockdown. And you've worked with, I'm really interested though in this thing of, the thing about the voices, people just assume they've always got it, and people who've never had any problems with their voice don't understand how shocking it is when you can't use it properly, like when you've got a stutter, or when you're anxious and it locks up, or when you've overworked it. So it's interesting that you got into that more supportive, therapeutic coaching role.
I've done it for years and years and years. Yeah, I think it's also the power of the mind, because I mean, just this recent situation, lockdown, you know, there's probably a dozen friends of mine, my peers, have rang me up, said, T, I've got a gig next week. Do you know what? I'm not sure if I can do it. I said, why? What's wrong? She said, I just don't know. I've done it for so long. I said, well, come and see me then. And I just said, just sing me something. And I sort of suddenly nitpick a few things. It might be their posture. It might be their mental approach or something, you know, and I sort of give them a little talking to them, get them to do a few things, and they leave uplifted. Oh, that's better. I'm all right now. I'll be all right now. Thanks. Yeah. It was that, you know, I guess they felt all this waiting around, you know, you do feel like you're on sort of a death row, don't you? It's like terrible.
Yeah.
So I've had a few of those phone calls in the middle of the night. And
I was going to say, you're pretty low key in your description of them. I mean, because my background is theatre, so I'm fully aware of how important voice is. And particularly when you're doing live theatre, where you're not sort of, you have to really work on sort of breathing properly in your posture, voice projection, and then doing that under stressful conditions and repeating it is it's quite a technical, complex thing. And but when somebody loses their confidence, the first place often is in their voice.
Yeah, straight there. Yeah. Well, because all your chest goes tight, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then that will go all the way straight there. You know, so that's why we make you do, you know, some chest exercises, roll your shoulders, and some neck exercises, loosen it all up. I mean, it's like someone who goes for a run. You know, your runner will stretch first, and he'll make sure his calves are loose and his ankles are nice and free, and your knees are all right. You know, well, so the vocal version of that is your neck and your shoulders.
Yeah.
You know, and your facial muscles, you know, because you're using your muscles in your face. They need stretching a bit, warming up, clear your sinuses, you know what I mean? All this stuff. It's very, you don't just open your mouth and it rolls out. I mean, a lot of people do, and they're lucky, you know, but if you're trying to keep to a certain level or standard that you've created for yourself, you know, you need to repeat that on a daily basis, especially if you're tired and you've just done 2 shows in a row.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure that, you know, if you care about what you do, that you're able to repeat that, because
Absolutely.
that's what people buy a ticket for.
For professionals, it's crucial, but I think also in everyday life, most people are not using their voice, what I would say, correctly. I mean, there is a right and a wrong way to produce sounds out of your throat, believe it or not. And most people, I think, are not using the sort of tips that you might give to people in general so that they are using their voices more effectively. What might they be in terms of breathing and things like that?
Well, I always say to people, breathe before every line, because if you look at a line as a journey and your breath as the fuel to make that journey, some people take one breath and try and do 3 or 4 lines, and by the time they've got to the end of that, they sound like an asthmatic.
Yeah.
They've got nothing left, no strength. It's got weaker instead of stronger. The dynamics are all over the place. So I say, just try and get into the habit of every time you sing something, take a breath first, replenish the tank, put the fuel back in, then you know that everything is fresh. That's the easiest thing to do. And also, look in the mirror a lot. Try and make sure that you like your facial expression, you like what you see, because that's what other people see. If you don't like the way you look, then you need to change it.
Yeah.
If you've got a face like a smacked ass, you're not going to like that.
That was just the way I was born, mate. I didn't bring that up. Do you know what I mean?
Same here, believe me. But, if you've done a video and you spent loads of money, then you go, oh, look at that, don't like the way I'm looking. Then you should have practiced that in the mirror first.
I think the point about breathing is well made. Most people, they do this odd thing. They spend their life panting like a dog rather than actually breathing properly, which is down here, isn't it, in your belly?
Yes. Well, you must breathe from there, really. The thing is, again, let's go back to the petrol tank scenario, just for layman's terms. Your chest is your reserve tank. You put a pound's worth in there, and your main tank is the lower part. Yeah, that's where you put your 50 quid's worth in.
Nice. That's a really nice way of saying it, T. That's a really way of saying it.
Just make it easy,
Yeah.
The sort of a Jamie Oliver approach. Get to the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these things I think are really good everyday tips for life, full stop. It's really fascinating. You think about some of the people that have had vocal coaches. One of the most famous people that had a vocal coach, which most people don't know, is Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah.
She was taught how to speak because she kept talking like this in too high a voice. And she was taught by a vocal coach, drop it down.
It goes right through you. People they don't want to hear that. I know. Yeah. Seen it. Yeah.
It's fascinating stuff. A lot of people actually rely on this stuff to get them through. And then you moved on in terms of the coaching as well and started getting an interest in mental health issues. How did that evolve?
Well, I didn't do that deliberately either. All that was, I got a phone call one day from a psychiatrist that said, I've got a patient here that's really low at the moment. And I've got an idea, if I could send them to somebody like yourself that could just get them to sing a song. They can sing, they're frightened of singing, they haven't got any confidence. I just want to see where this takes them. So I said, okay. So they came to me and I said, well, send them to me and I'll just treat them as a singer. I'm not going to get into where they've come from or the background. Just pick a song that you want to sing and I'll make you sing it better, easier, safer.
Yeah.
And we did that for a few hours, and I won't mention names, but this particular person was quite low when she came to me, and then I don't know, even after the first hour, she was walking around jumping for joy that she was able to hit notes she didn't think she could hit and stuff like that. But then once we'd done it a few times and this song became her party piece, she then found that she could go out and do a karaoke or sing something at a party, and it made her feel great because people were applauding her, and suddenly she felt important. Her self-esteem came back, her persona grew, and then, I didn't advise her to say, come off of drugs or go on drugs or anything, but she said to me one day, do you know what, T? I'll tell you what you've done, what you don't realise what you've done. I said, well, what have I done there? I don't take my pills anymore. I don't feel like I need to anymore. My life is improved. I said, you know what? I'm so pleased to hear that.
Yeah.
If that's your choice and that's work for you, then I feel.
She was also, I presume, talking to a psychiatrist about it as well. So.
Oh yeah, but I've had a few more since. I've had a few more since that have had similar effects, you know, and they said, you know, just being here with you and the way you explain things, it's very therapeutic.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting because, I mean, I guess most of us understand, don't we, that when we're happy, we sing. I mean, I
yeah, well, of course, yeah.
But maybe people don't make the next step that if you sing, you can become happy.
Yeah.
Because if you're not happy, and then you start singing.
And especially if you sound good as well, or even if you know, I mean, everyone sings at different levels, but I mean, even if you sound better than you thought you would and better than you did the day before, you know, it's another building block. It's something else that's going to, you know, again, like my position made me, it was my secret weapon. It got me out of jail, you know, and it does the same thing for them.
When you were describing it, I was thinking, I wonder sort of how much of that little boy's experience came to the fore in terms of how you got out of that problem that you were in, because you must have been quite depressed as a little kid when.
Oh yeah. Well, I was always trying to get out of the way. You know, I'd, you know, get to school quick, get your coat off quick, get in the classroom quick. You know, that's good. I made it. You know. So yeah, no, I think subconsciously you're probably correct.
Yeah.
You know, I do have a big understanding on how it feels to be on that side of the fence.
Yeah, but also more importantly, you have an understanding of getting out of it, don't you, into something much more positive.
Yeah.
It's that experience is important, isn't it?
Yeah, I do know one thing. You can be anything you want to be.
Yeah.
Right. And as long as you've got the want to be it, you will be it one way or another.
Yeah. And before people get on the high horse about, some people have a hard life, actually studies have confirmed this, that you can have two people with the same life experience who can experience them in very radically different ways. Mm-hmm. So two people can be poor. One of the people can have a positive attitude about it and the poverty doesn't kill them or destroy them, and the other person it does. Similarly, you can have two people who are very wealthy. One person has a negative relationship to that. They go off in spirals, they end up damaged and, you know, from one addiction treatment service to the next, blah, blah, blah. We all know that story. And the other person is very grand and healthy about it. So there's a lot of evidence what you're saying, T.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, the optimist will always outdo the pessimist, even if the odds are against him. You know, I mean, I am, without a shadow of a doubt, an optimist.
Yeah.
Believe you me. Oh, yeah. I mean, because I've had lots of reasons to sort of suddenly become a bus driver. Not that there's anything wrong with being a bus driver, but it's not what I would ever want it to be. But, you know, I had kids to feed, and thank God I never had to do that, you know. Everything I have walked in, driven, eaten and worn and gave to everyone else come from my voice. You know, so I am blessed for that alone.
And your voice got you out of some terrible situations, and you're now helping other people get out of some terrible situation.
Oh, yeah.
And how many people are you do you think you're working with at the moment that around that sort of coaching stuff?
Well, the people that come to me, because they've been advised to come to me just for an uplift, is probably about half a dozen at the moment.
Nice.
You know, yeah. But they come and go. If they suddenly feel they need a boost, they come back for an MOT, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, I like the car analogy. So they come back for an MOT, just for a little top up.
Yeah.
And, you know, or they might want a new song. They're fed up with that one. Can we do a new one?
It's great. I mean, I love the attitude you got, because it's not about talking to people about their problems. It's just like, let's make a nice song. Let's make you feel better today. Yeah.
And as long as you feel better today than you did yesterday, that's a good thing.
And then it sounds like what happens if people move from what we call a vicious cycle, because they're low, lack confidence, self-esteem low, they don't socialize, which makes things worse. They withdraw and isolate, that makes worse. They
close down.
That's right. And then you just flip that one and turn it into what we call a virtuous circle, which is a circle that grows bigger and bigger because confidence improves and esteem improves, engagement with others improves.
Yeah.
And there is something like very natural naturally healing about the arts, but also naturally healing about a good old chinwag with a good friend.
Yeah, and
best
even
therapy in the world.
Even getting people then to start looking people in the eye again.
Yeah,
because they look away. You know, I'm sorry, but no, come on, look at me.
Absolutely. We
have that again.
We have these things called oxytocin receptors in the eyes. There's a lot more of them in the eyes and the skin. And oxytocin is sometimes the sun or the star call it the love hormone. But it is literally a hormone that makes us feel loved up. Yeah. So they're sort of true, and it helps us bond with other people. So the eye contact thing is really important. But it's also, I think there's something really important about the fact that you give people a skill which they can then take and show off.
Yeah.
And then you can improve it. I'm guessing, because you can't be there for everybody on the planet who's depressed, I'm guessing that if people were to do things like join a local singing group, they might begin to get some of that benefit naturally just from...
I would say right now, everyone should join a choir because, you know, it doesn't matter. It's just about being together. I mean, all right, if there's worried about COVID, sing back to back. Don't breathe on each other. But, you know, there's always a way, you know, and I think you'd see probably a lot more happier people. I mean, there's too many people trying to, you know, tell tales and the other person, oh, they haven't done that, they haven't done that. Let's go and sing a song, even on the beach, shout at the sky, whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah.
You know, let whatever's in out.
That's great advice. It's fantastic advice. And what it's making me think is, you know, I was thinking about all those difficult years you had in the 80s, and you weren't the only person who had the difficult 1980s, I have to say. There was something about the 80s that were,
it was good.
For a lot of people, they were a pretty dodgy decade. The 90s, it began to improve. So, but there's something about, why do people stick with the arts or stick with the art form that they've chosen? And I think you're describing it. It's because when we do it, it makes us feel happy. It's really that simple, isn't it?
Well, it is, yeah. I mean, okay, you get whether like a bus driver or a postman or a builder, what do they work all week for? They work all week to go out and see someone that can do what I do, or a DJ, or something, that they pay money to come and see someone like me to sing to them. And they go, oh, what a great night you've had. And from my perspective, you know, I've had a few people come, oh, you've given me such a nice night. And you know what, that's worth more than money. You know, that someone actually, you've just given someone a great night. You know, they've gone home on a high and they can't wait to go and earn some more money to come back and do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, all right, people do say, oh, you had a lot of money for 1 hour. Yes, but we did spend 18 hours rehearsing and 15 hours getting here.
You don't need to justify the fees to me. Do you remember there's a very almost apocryphal sort of quote by or exchange. It's a sort of a conversation that happened during WW2. When the nutter Winston Churchill that he was Prime Minister, and one of his ministers came up and said, you know what, we're running out of money. We can't keep subsidising the theatres and the music halls and everything like that. We have to take the money away because we've got to put the money into aircraft manufacture and we've got to win the war. And he's apparently credited with saying, probably, I think the only sensible thing he ever said, which was, so if you get rid of the theatres, if you close them all down, why on earth are we fighting the war? Because what's the point? You know, and I think that is literally what you're saying, that this gives us meaning and purpose.
It does. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
You know, without a shadow of a doubt.
Take the arts out of the world and there's not much left, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's all different types of arts, you know, but actors and all that stuff, that's what the TV is, isn't it? And, you know, they've shut us all down for the last 18. I mean, I've done 2 gigs in 18 months.
Yeah.
And that was
it's really interesting. I was saying right at the beginning of all of this, I was talking to some sort of other sort of mental health workers, people with lots of, psychiatrists and stuff like that. They were on the show. And again, I might put a link to it when this one goes out, because we all knew at that point, we still know that there were going to be significant mental health impacts from the pandemic, the lockdown, the removal of the things that give us joy, such as on a Friday night going to a gig that you're at. We all knew that was going to have significant psychological impacts. And at that point, and I might send you a copy of the show, at that point, I was talking to a guy who's a music therapist up in Scotland, and we were like, there's no way mental health services can deal with this. What we need the people in the arts to step in.
Yeah.
And we need to fund that properly, and we need to have a massive national programme of music, dance, theatre, etc. That's what's going to heal people. Without
that will stop people getting stabbed as well, won't it? Yeah.
Without 100%.
They'll be too busy singing.
Yeah. Well, we did. I mean, I did loads of that work with young kids in the East End, and once they got the bug, like you did when you were a kid, there was no stopping them.
Oh, no. It's a great.
They didn't go backwards at all. They went forwards in their life because they were doing something they were proud of, and also something that was what we call pro-social, because it involved they needed other people to do it. Because, as you know, it's not something you do on your own, any of this stuff.
Oh no, you need encouragement. You need some kind of guidance, someone to inspire you. I mean, again, go back to Eric Clapton. I mean, when you first heard Eric Clapton all them years ago, you didn't just buy his record, did you? You went out and bought a guitar.
Yeah.
Because he suddenly made you want to be a guitar player.
That's right.
And I'd hoped that, some friends of mine and myself and a few other singers that you see out there, you don't just buy the record, you go out and buy a microphone too, because you've been inspired to do so.
Yeah.
Or like a football player, you go and buy a ball, Everyone should inspire somebody to do something nice,
My hero is David Bowie.
Yeah,
mine was David Bowie, and he inspired me to be a weirdo, and I'm really grateful to him for it.
That's all right.
You know what I mean? It's like, because he inspired me to sort of be myself, and I'm weird. We're all weird in our own way, I think.
We're all weird in our own. We're all the same, but we're all different at the same time. So
yeah.
Listen,
we thought it'd come to the end, I'm afraid. I mean, this show goes quickly. Most people go an hour. We can't talk for an hour about things. It's been really lovely to talk to you. I mean, it's sort of you're such a nice bloke. Really down to earth and sort of accessible. You kept saying, I hadn't planned any of this, but a life that's overly planned is a bit boring, isn't it? I mean, I think that,
I don't really want to know what I'm doing in free Friday time.
Yeah.
I want to do, but I don't. I'm like, really? I might want to change that and go somewhere else.
Yeah. Being sort of comfortable with an uncertain future is a really, really good life skill.
Yeah.
And just knowing.
I haven't had much choice, but no.
Well, that's sort of this last 18 months, it's been the preeminent skill. But yeah, it's you can't worry about what you can't control. Exactly. Well, you can if you're really dumb, but let go of it, to be honest.
But then that week that you're worried about it, you spent a week having a bad time. I'd rather spend a week having a nice time.
Or singing a song.
It is, singing a song. If the money's right, yeah. Yeah.
I love the fact that there's something about your story which is really touching, which is that little kid that discovered singing is now offering this beautiful gift to other people, it seems to me.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, I think, too.
Oh, thank you so much. One thing I did offer, though, which no one's come back to me on, I tried to get in touch with the NHS because I was looking at all these poor people that had COVID.
Yeah.
And had long COVID. I offered to try and help them, to try and teach them to breathe again. And I offered it for free. And I guess sometimes if you offer something for free, they think it's worth nothing anyway. But
I tell you what,
I did offer.
I'm going to make that happen. I've still got connections in the NHS.
More that they send them to me, and I will try and help them get their lungs back working, and whether it's not even singing, but just breathe.
I've got
mates
still working in hospitals at the moment. I'll get in touch with them and then get in touch with you, T.
I'd love to do
that happen. I think that's a brilliant idea, because this COVID thing, I had it. It literally stops you being able to breathe. It's horrible.
Yeah, and I know how to breathe, and I can teach breathing, and not a problem. If I can help someone, I'll be more than
anybody
happy.
from the NHS who's listening, this is the man. Get in touch. And we're going to single-handedly, or he is single-handedly going to sort out this long COVID shit.
Yeah, and make it short COVID.
Better than drugs. Better than drugs. People
what's all this long shit?
Yeah, no. That's brilliant. What a fantastic offer. That's fantastic. Listen, we got to finish there. You stay with us, T. It's going to wrap the show up, and then you stay with us. Look, folks, I'm sorry to end, but we have to. It's amazing, this stuff, that, I think there is something happening in the world where people are wanting to help and get involved, because it's been pretty tough sort of 18 months. But big-hearted people like T are there offering their services and skills. And it's odd that the stuff that's going to help us often is right under our noses. So singing a song and getting involved in a local choir, joining a local theatre group, those things are really, really going to help you folks. So I'd encourage you to do it. Anyway, enough of that. I shall see you all next week. It's good to be back live and alive and kicking and all that sort of stuff. And goodbye for now, folks.